Minister of Social Empowerment Ranjan Ramanayake is no stranger to controversy. Last week, his attempts to draw the attention of Duterte Divisional Secretary HMLS Harath to illegal soil excavation in Akaragama led members of Gampaha District Administrative Services Association, GDASA, to the streets demanding an apology as Sri Lanka Administrative Services Association interpreted the incident as unnecessary interference. Salon today spoke to Ranjan Ramanayake about the incident. Excerpts. Recently you accused the Divisional Secretary of Duterte and MP Indika Anuradha for alleged involvement in illegal excavation of soil. The government servants have of course taken to the streets alleging that you have tried to interfere with her work. How did you get involved in this incident and what do you have to say about these allegations? First of all I have to say that I didn't call the Divisional Secretary over a personal matter. I was acting in the capacity of a people's representative. I got involved in the matter when two Buddhist monks invited me to take part in a protest against the Divisional Secretary of Duterte, because she is allowing the illegal excavation of soil which adversely affects the environment. The protest was not organized by the United National Party, UNP, supporters. There were members of all political parties and I think it was a Janatha Vimukhti Paramuna, JVP, former local councillor who had taken the lead. When people briefed me on the issue and told me that the Divisional Secretary never meets them or answers their questions, I called her from the mobile phone of a local councillor there. When I explained the matter she got angry and hung up on me. I had to call again from another number and then she told me that I must not interfere with her work and that I should hand over a written complaint. I told her that people have submitted complaints before, that there is plenty of evidence to support their claims and that I only wanted to draw her attention to the matter. But, now the members of the Gampaha District Administrative Services Association, GDASA, have declared war on me and want me to apologize. But they don't even want to consider what the inaction of the Divisional Secretary is doing to the people and how people like the Divisional Secretary erode people's faith in the government sector. Sri Lanka Administrative Services Association, SLASA, met President Maithripala Sirisena on Monday along with the Duterte Divisional Secretary. Issuing a press release they claimed that the President claimed the incident should not have happened and the Deputy Minister was at fault. He also expressed his apology. If Deputy Minister Ramanayake continues to be adamant, our Executive Committee, which will meet on Friday, will decide what future action should be taken. You have already declared that you will not apologize. But did the President talk to you? No he has not, but I don't think he will ask me to apologize. I have done nothing wrong. And I have already said that I will not take a step back until the environmental degradation of Akaragama ends. After the incident a number of ministers, MPs and people told me that I did the right thing. I met Speaker Karu Jayajaranar and he told me that when he was the line minister he issued a circular preventing a divisional secretary from staying at one station for more than a year. But the Duterte Divisional Secretary has been here since 2010 and there are a number of complaints against her. The Duterte Divisional Secretary works closely with Anuradha and others like him, and I am collecting evidence against the Divisional Secretary to lodge a complaint at the Bribery Commission. Corrupt government servants have an adverse impact on the people. Divisional Secretariat is a place where people come to fulfill their most basic and vital necessities. And the Duterte Divisional Secretary is notorious for keeping people waiting. I have not threatened her or tried to intimidate her but I think I will take legal action against her because I believe in our judiciary and the proper way of doing things. In any other country if a politician tries to stop environmental degradation, the general public will award him. But in Sri Lanka when a politician tries to stop environmental degradation, the public sector threatens to go on strike. During previous administrations politicizing the state sector and unnecessary influence of politicians had an adverse effect on the state sector. But, we can't blame politicians alone. Most of our government servants are corrupt, inefficient and have no discipline. When the Rajapaksa administration was in power so many government officers were assaulted and abused by politicians. Minister Mervyn Selva tied a Samadhi officer to a tree. Former Northwestern Provincial Council member Ananda Sarath Kumara forced a teacher to kneel down in front of students while a number of others were assaulted. Not a single union said a word. But now they go on strike for everything. Freedom of expression and association are vital but one must not abuse them. When these freedoms are abused, the silent majority starts associating these freedoms with chaos, and that sentiment can be easily exploited by authoritarian leaders. That is what Mahinda did. So the government servants, who have had a decent education, must think of this also. Devulapitiya is an area full of natural resources, especially granite, soil and sand, and there are businesses developed around these resources. In recent years there have been a number of assassinations and assaults over who has access to these resources. As an MP representing the area, have you taken any measures to ensure that these businessmen adhere to the rule of law? To be honest, I don't intervene in these businesses, but yes, we have a problem. 48 people have been killed over disputes regarding who has access to granite, soil and sand in recent years. 48 is a big number, and it shows that these businessmen operate like a mafia and do not hesitate to get rid of people who stand in their way. Now I also know that people who have given me information about illegal soil excavation have been threatened by goons. People in the area, who know about this mafia only too well, have also asked me to be careful because they fear for my life. But I am not afraid. My parents have passed away and I don't have a wife or children, and because of that I don't fear death. You may not fear death, but the United National Front for Good Governance, UNFGG, came into power promising that they will enforce the rule of law, which creates an environment in which fighting corruption is not the exclusive purview of people who are not afraid. So in your own electorate, goons have the power to influence and intimidate people? Well, there are improvements. There is much more freedom for people to talk about injustices against them, and people have much more faith in the judiciary. If I was given an opportunity, I know how to deal with these people. Right now, I have been made the Deputy Minister of Social Empowerment and Social Welfare and put in charge of distributing wheelchairs, crutches, etc. The work here is important because we really need to take better care of the vulnerable people. But I would prefer to do something which is to do directly with protecting state resources. Give me a ministry like Law and Order, or even make me the Deputy Minister of that ministry, and I will fix this issue in a few years. Look at how President Rodrigo Duterte of the Philippines is cleaning up their streets. Minimizing corruption or crime in a country is not that hard if you have the will. Since most of the interview was on environment, I would also like to ask you about your recent inspection visits to forest areas near Wilpata National Park, and you spoke against the actions of Industry and Commerce Minister Rashad Bathiadeen. This has not been the stance of many government ministers and MPs. How did they react to your statement afterwards? A lot of people, who want to deny anything has happened, play this game called Nothing Has Happened to Wilpata National Park. No one has said that the national park is being cleared. What has happened is the destruction of forest areas adjoining the national park, and this will affect the animals and the ecosystem for sure. Creating settlements and destroying the forest areas is the brainchild of Basil Rajapaksa, and it was the Rajapaksa administration that started this whole mess by building a road through the national park. But I went to the areas where there have been environmental destruction and I was appalled. On the other hand, how the settlements have been created is another serious matter. Rajapaksa and Bathiadeen started this dangerous game. They have started this initiative to segregate people. Look at all the new settlements built by Bathiadeen. The minister has settled around 20 Sinhala families in Vijayagama, and all the other settlements are for Muslims. Why segregate people? Why can't people of all nationalities live in one place? If we don't encourage people to live in multi-ethnic communities, how will we get to know one another?